first step in obtaining your commercial driver's license is to schedule an appointment for your DOT physical. Contact Safety Human Resources for information on a company paid location, or feel free to go to your current provider at your cost. Once completed, turn a copy of your DOT medical examiner certificate into safety. These certifications are usually good for 2 years, however, some conditions require them to be performed annually. Each Kentucky CDL applicant will then need to go to drive.ky.gov and create an account prior to taking the written permit test in the state of Kentucky. Within the portal account, there are a few forms that need to be completed. To do this, you will need your regular Kentucky driver's license handy. Click on the application box and self-certification box to complete the required fields. Next, upload a copy of your medical examiner certificate, also known as your DOT physical, and complete the necessary fields. There is also a waiver form that is required to be completed if you have a medical condition that requires a doctor to sign off on. This document will be provided by either St. Elizabeth or your personal doctor and will be required to be uploaded in this section. You will receive an email notification that each section was submitted and a follow-up email from each section once your paperwork is approved and/or denied. Once you have received approval from all sections, you can then make arrangements to take the written test for the CDL permit in the county you reside in. Please be aware that this process usually takes 2 weeks to complete. To study for the written exam, please visit Riegler Blacktop's company website to download a copy of the CDL manual. The password to enter the Employee Documents tab is Riegler, all lowercase, and the year that we are in. There are tons of practice tests available online for you to review as well prior to taking the exam. Please keep in mind you must hold your written permit for at least 2 weeks before you can schedule your skills test.
First thing you do is put your seatbelt on anytime you get in or out of the vehicle. Seatbelt, seatbelt receiver. Seatbelt receiver is securely mounted. Seatbelt is not ripped, torn, frayed, and it is properly adjusted for me. This is my driver's side mirror. It's not cracked, chipped, broken. It's free of any illegal stickers, and it's properly adjusted for me. This is my windshield. It's not cracked, chipped, or broken. It's free of any illegal stickers, and it is clean of any debris. This is my windshield wiper arm. It is securely mounted, and it is not broken. This is my windshield wiper blade. It's not ripped, torn, frayed. This is my passenger side mirror. It's not cracked, chipped, broken. Free of any illegal stickers, and it's properly adjusted for me. This is my air horn. It is in proper working order for this vehicle. This is your oil gauge. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. This is your water temp gauge. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. This is your trans temp gauge. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. This is your fuel gauge. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. This is your primary air supply gauge. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. The governor cuts in between 120 and 140 PSI. This is your secondary air gauge. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. The governor kicks in between 120 and 140 PSI. This is your voltmeter. It's reading 13.8, which lets me know that the alternator is properly charging the batteries. This is your ABS light, which indicates that the truck is equipped with ABS brakes. These are my running lights. They are working properly. These are my high beams. They are working properly. This is my left turn signal. It is working properly. This is my right turn signal. It is working properly. This is my windshield washer sprayer. It is working properly, which cleans my windshield. These are your hazards. They are in proper operating range for this vehicle and working properly. This is my door handle. It opens the truck door from the inside. This is my steering wheel. On a 20-inch steering wheel, there should be no more than 10 degrees or 2 inches of play. This is my electrical horn. This is my defrost. It is working properly. This is my floor vent. It is working properly. 3 pieces of emergency equipment you have to have in your vehicle at all times are spare fuses, properly rated and properly charged fire extinguisher, which is over here by the seatbelt receiver, and then 3 emergency reflective triangles, which are under the passenger side seat. For the first part of this test, we would drive up to 5 miles an hour and then apply the service brake and make sure that the truck doesn't pull to the left or the right, indicating a brake problem. For the next part of this test, we will turn the engine off, turn the electric back on, push in the tractor and trailer protection valves, and then we will hold our foot on the brake for 1 minute, making sure we don't lose more than 4 psi for a combination vehicle. And then after that minute, we will fan off the air pressure until 60 psi, where our low air indicator will alert. And then from there, we will continue fanning until the tractor protection supply and the trailer protection supply pop out. Truck is off. The electric is back on. Now we will hold our foot on the brake for 1 minute, making sure we don't lose more than 4 psi for a combination vehicle. Now for the next part of this, we will fan off the air pressure until 60 psi when the warning light or warning buzzer will sound. Now we continue fanning off until the tractor protection valve and the trailer protection valve both pop out. These are the marker lights on the hood. They are amber and not red or orange. Call them amber. And you have this one here, and then you have this one there. Now we will be going under the hood to do the part of the inspection. This is my windshield washer reservoir. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. The cap is present. It's not cracked, leaking. All the lines coming to and from are securely mounted. They're not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. This is my radiator reservoir. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. The cap is present. The lines coming to and from are securely mounted. They're not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. And the radiator reservoir is not leaking, cracked, or broken. This is my serpentine belt. It is securely mounted. It's not ripped, torn, frayed. There's no more than 3/4 inch of play. The three things that are belt driven on this vehicle is the water pump, the power steering pump, and the alternator. The water pump is in the center of the engine. It's securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. If there was, there'd be a puddle under the truck. This is the dipstick. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. If you'd like, I could show you that it's in proper operating range. This vehicle has a gear-driven airbox, and it is gear-driven, so it runs off the motor. This is your steering shaft. It's securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. This is your power steering reservoir. It's securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. The cap is present. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. The lines coming to and from are not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking, and they are also securely mounted. This is your power steering box. It's securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. The lines coming to and from are not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. This is your pitman arm. My pitman arm is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken. This is your drag link. The drag link is securely mounted. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. All the nuts and bolts are present. This is your steering knuckle. The steering knuckle is securely mounted. All nuts, bolts, and carter keys are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. This is your slack adjuster. It's securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. All the carter keys are present. And there should be no more than 1 inch of play with the brakes applied. This is your brake chamber. Securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing, or leaking. The lines coming to and from are securely mounted. They're not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. This is your drum lining. Securely mounted. It's free of any contaminants such as grease or gravel, and it is not worn dangerously thin. This is your leaf spring mount. It's securely mounted, all nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. This is your leaf spring bushing. It is present, and it's not cracked, broken, or missing, or worn dangerously thin. This is your leaf spring. Your leaf springs are securely mounted. They're all present. They're not cracked, broken, or welded. This is your U-bolt. U-bolt is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. This is your shock absorber mount. Your shock absorber mount is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present, and it's not cracked, broken, or missing. This is your shock absorber. It's securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing, or leaking. This is the tire tread. It is wearing evenly, and on a steering tire, there is no less than 4 30-seconds of tread. This is the sidewall. It's not ripped, torn. There are no cuts or lacerations or ballooning. This is the rim. There's no dents, cracks, or welds on it. This is the valve stem. It is securely mounted. The cap is present and it is not leaking. These are the lug nuts. They are all present. They are all securely mounted. If they were not securely mounted, there would be rust trails. And one thing that you're looking for is shiny threads, which indicates a cross thread. This is the hub axle reservoir. It's in proper operating range for this vehicle. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking, because if it was leaking, there would be a puddle in the rim right here, and it is securely mounted. This is the sight glass that you can take off to look to see that it is in proper operating range for this vehicle. This is my window bracket for my mirror. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. This is my door handle. It's working properly, which lets me know that the door will open from the outside. The door hinges are securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present, not cracked, broken, or missing. This is my helper handle. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. These are my steps. They are securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. They're not cracked, broken, or missing. These are my fuel tank straps. They are securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. They're not cracked, broken, or missing. This is my fuel tank. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's securely mounted. The cap is present. The lines coming to and from are securely mounted. They're not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. And the tank is not broken, cracked, or leaking, because if it was leaking, there would be a puddle underneath. From there, this is my frame. My frame is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. There are no excessive holes, excessive rust, and there are no stress cracks to the longitudinal frame rail members. This is my primary air tank. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. The lines coming to and from are securely mounted. They're not ripped, frayed, torn, or leaking. Up underneath in the frame rail is my secondary air tank. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. The lines coming to and from are securely mounted. They're not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. This is my battery box. These are the batteries. All the batteries are present. The lines coming to and from are securely mounted. There's no excessive corrosion to any of the battery terminals, and all the cell caps are present. And now we move to the rear. This is my leaf spring mount. It's securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, missing. It's my leaf spring mount bushing. It is securely mounted. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. These are my leaf springs. They're all secure. They're not cracked, welded, broken, or missing, or shifted. This is my drive shaft. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, bent, broken, or missing. All the couplers are free of any foreign objects such as string, and all the nuts and bolts are present. It is working properly for this vehicle because we drove here today. For the rear, suspension, and tires, it's all the same. The only difference is on a drive tire, there has to be more than 2/32 of tread. Other than that, it's all the same as on the front, so you can just rewatch that video. Once we get to the other side, we will name the 2 things that we missed on this side, and then that is pretty much it for the side of the truck. This is your mud flap. It is securely mounted. It's not ripped, torn, frayed. All of the nuts and bolts are securely mounted and they are all present. This is your brake light. It is securely mounted. It is red and it is working properly. I will show you that later in the test. This is your marker light. It is red. It is working properly. You will see that later in the test. This is your license plate. It is securely mounted and it's working properly and it is free of any debris. This is your emergency glad hand because it is red. It is securely mounted. All the nuts and bolts coming to and from are secure. The rubber bushings inside are securely mounted. And the lines coming to and from are not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. This is your D-ring. Your D-ring is securely mounted to the vehicle. There are no broken welds and there are no cracks or breaks to it. This is your electrical socket. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. The lines coming to and from are not ripped, torn, frayed, pinched, or bound. This is your service glad hand. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It is not cracked, broken, or leaking, and there are no frays to the lines. All the lines coming to and from are not ripped, torn, frayed, or leaking. Locking jaws are working properly. We will show that they are securely mounted. All the nuts and bolts are present, and it is keeping the tailgate properly shut so it does not come open. This is the pintle hitch. It is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or missing, and it is not worn dangerously thin in here where the pintle loop attaches, and the Carter key safety pin is present. This is my pintle loop. It is securely mounted. It's not worn dangerously thin. All nuts and bolts are present, and it is in good, proper working order for this vehicle. These are my safety chains. They are securely mounted. They're not cracked, broken, or missing, and there are no cracks to the chain links. And they are securely mounted to the D-rings. As we move down this side of the truck, we will get the exhaust and the radiator reservoir sight glass. Come with me on this wild adventure. The exhaust is securely mounted. All nuts and bolts are present. It's not cracked, broken, or leaking. If it was leaking, there would be excessive soot. This is the radiator reservoir sight glass. It shows that you are in proper operating range for this vehicle and lets you know if you need to add some radiator fluid. And then we also have the alternator. The alternator is tucked up under the air breather. We know it is properly charging the batteries because the voltmeter showed us that it was charging at 13.8. It is belt driven. All the nuts and bolts are securely mounted, and it is not cracked, broken, or missing. This is the final portion of the walk around. It's the trailer section. This is the trailer tongue. It is not bent, cracked, or twisted. It is securely mounted. This is the catwalk area. It is free of any debris, and it is securely mounted. This is the landing gear. The handle is in the travel position. The landing gear is all the way up for road use. All the nuts and bolts are securely mounted and in good, proper working order. This is the storage unit. The lid is present. The floor is intact. This is the bulkhead of the trailer. This is where you can secure stuff. It is not cracked, broken, excessively dented, and in good working order. These are your planks. They are all present. There's no excessive holes. They're not cracked, broken, or missing. And they are all present.
Please use the lessons and guidelines learned in this video to properly operate and maintain our equipment. And please remember, only trained individuals should operate the equipment.
We cannot stress the importance of obtaining your CDL. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.